Assalamualaikum. My name is Muhammad Mirak Azrai bin Muhammad Sabri. My group members is Amar Afiq bin Muhammad Nasir and Kafidin Senan Lelaki Manimaran. So we are going to present for Windows Server Administration problem-based task. Okay, next. Okay, for introduction, Lestari Technologies Sdn Bhd is an IT company based in Kuala Lumpur. They already acquired a project task for build DNS and DHCP infrastructure for investment and financial company has just started operations. The company called Itia Investments in Bhd that provide investment and financially advisory. As a network and system engineer, we as a group are given the task to design the network of physical and logical diagram, complete IP address table that will be assigned to the related equipment, install Active Directory services, domain name system, dynamic host configuration protocol. Okay, after install all the necessary services, we are needed to configure Active Directory DNS zone. DNS setting for web server, DNS setting for mail server, DHCP setting for HR administration department, and DHCP settings for accounting and normal staff department. After we done, we are required to do a connectivity test and show the verification results. Okay, next. Okay, so hardware and software requirement. For hardware requirement, we use one server and 3 client PC. For software requirement, we use AD, DNS, and DHCP services. Okay, next. Okay, so this is the network topology. Okay, for PC1 administration, it will use PMNet 7, and for PC2 accounting, it will use PMNet 9, and for PC3 normal stuff, it will use PMNet 10. Okay, for NIC2, it will use PMNet 7, NIC3 will use PMNet 9, and for NIC4 will use PMNet 10. Okay, next. Okay, so this is for the addressing table. Okay, for server 1, domain controller, PC1, HR administration, PC2, accounting, PC3, normal stuff. Okay, next. Okay, for configuration, AD, DNS, and DHCP. For the first one is installing Active Directory services. Okay, for the first step, we are going to open Server Manager in PC, click Roles and Features, and then select ADDS, DHCP, Services, and DNS Server. And then click Next and install. Okay, next. Okay, after that, click Close after installation is done. Verify all services is installed by checking in the dashboard. Okay, next. Okay, for the next one, we are going to create domain. Okay, first we are going to click promote this server to a domain controller, and then we are going to click add a new forest, and then enter the root domain name. Okay, next. Okay, and then we need to enter the DSRM password, and then click install and wait until the installation is complete. Okay, next. Okay, for the next part, I'm gonna pass to Amaru Afiq.
Okay, I will continue for the presentation for configure DNS. Firstly, we're gonna enter the DNS manager and right click on reverse lookup zone and click new zone. Okay, next we're gonna click next on the reverse lookup zone and enter the network ID and click next. And last, click finish for the configuration DNS. For configure DNS hostname record for the web server, expand the forward lookup zone and click the domain name and right click and choose new host A or AAAA. And next, we'll enter the host name and enter the IP address and click add host. For pointer record for the web server, expand forward lookup zone and click the domain name and right click and choose new host and AAA. enter the host name, enter the IP address, and click add host. Tick the click associate pointer PTR record under the IP address. Okay, next, alias name record for the web server. Expand the forward local zone and click the next name and right click and choose new alias cname. And next step is enter the host name, click browse and find and choose domain and click OK. For configure DHCP, open the DHCP manager and right click on IPv4 and click the new scope and click the wizard, click next. Enter the scope name and description for HR/administrator and click next and enter the start and an IP address. Enter the LAN and subnet mask and click next. So for next configuration, and enter exclusion for IP address and click add and click next. For list duration, enter the list duration and click next. Choose yes. I want to configure this option now and click next. And enter the default gateway IP address, click add and click next. For domain name, enter the domain name and DNS server IP address and click add next and click next and lastly click finish. And repeat the same step for accounting and normal stuff. Okay, next presentation I will pass to Kavinasan.
Thank you, Amarul. Okay, now I want to talk about connectivity test in verification result. In PC1, we want to uh, see whether the correct IP address in address lists and the correct IP address in IP config. Next, okay, now in PC2, we want to see the same step whether the IP address in lists and the IP address in IP config is the same. Okay, in PC3, we want to follow the same step whether the IP address in address pieces and the IP address in IP config is the same. Next. Okay, now we want to um, as a next step we want to ping the DNS as a verification. the ping the ping DNS is successful. This is the DNS web server verification. The DNS web server is successful. Next, as a conclusion, we have successfully fulfilled all the requirements that were given by the company. After install and configure all the services they require for the server, we did a connectivity test and show the verification result for every service that we configured to make sure that the services are working well. We verified the DNS service with pinging all the hostname bit in the CMD. We also typed in the web server domain name server in the Explorer to check either the DNS and IIS services both are working well. For the last one, we verified the DHCP service with checking the IP address that the host received. We make sure the IP address the host receive are in full range and fulfill the requirements of the DHCP that we configure. Thank you.